Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavana Sitaram 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 Lakshman Hanuman. So today is Ram Vijay, which commemorates the day that Lord Ram, what do they call it, the brief surgical operation, which the patient did not survive. It was the end of Ravana. But we're going to in order to appreciate Ram Vijay, it's good to know the background of the thing. So that's what we've got going on here. And I should mention that Bhakta Ed, I've collected over the years different books and pictures and stuff like that. And Bhakta Ed has scanned them all in. Took a long time. So, oh, hey, there he is. So we're indebted to Bhakta Ed for doing this. So, here we go. Thanks, Mukunda. And if you come across that laser pointer, that's right there. Fantastic. Let's make sure you don't blind somebody. Okay. So there's a few, and we'll breeze through this quickly because you Prabhus all know this, but some foundational principles first, lest we think that this is some, like the Iliad and the Odyssey or Greek mythology. So of course, why does the shadow have 5 fingers? Anyone know? Because the hand has 5 fingers. So any subset, if you have a set of numbers, if you have a subset, you can't have any of the subset that's not in the original set. Where are we going here? If you have a drop of water, the quality must be the same. If you take a drop of water from the ocean, not quantity, but quality is the same. The seamless logic is behind the creation. There must be a designer. There's organization, there's symmetry, there's rhythm, there's pattern. It functions. There must be a designer. Everywhere there's organization, symmetry, there's a designer. And if it's a shadow of the finger, you know the example, then that designer must be complete. In order to be complete, he must have form, activities, and relationships. Otherwise, we have something that the Absolute cannot. And how is it possible if we're emanations, subsets of the Absolute? It doesn't make any sense at all. We're drops. We have a quality. The Absolute must also have that quality. So that's... and simultaneously, we understand the whole thing, that although Krishna has a form, he's simultaneously present everywhere, cause of all causes. We know that. Behind all the, here we are. So we understand this. We understand everything's emanating from Mahavishnu. But we understand that Mahavishnu comes from the supreme transcendental cowherd boy, Krishna. There's that great discourse. Anyway, when Lord we're off the track. So this material world's a shadow reflection, hand in the shadow of the spiritual world. There is a kingdom of God. So that's a little setup to understand these things. And is God a blinding white light? Is he an old man? No, Purana Purusham, he's the oldest, and yet he's Navayovanam, he's a fresh youth. That actually makes sense, that God has to be all attractive. I mean, you know, I used to look pretty good looking. Now I'm all wrinkled and dented, and, you know. So old man, what is that? Krishna's a fresh youth. That makes sense. You can say, we understand the whole thing. Anyway, I don't want to take up too much time. So, what is the difference between Krishna and Ram? It's a very, practical question. From one candle, you can light many other candles. Still, there's an original candle. That's a Brahma Samhita example. So, Lord Ram is a Leela avatar of Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu is an expansion of Krishna. This is Krishna, and these are all the... I can't see from a distance, but we've got Matsya, we've got Kurma, we've got Varaha, so this is the Das avatars. And they're all emanating from Vishnu or Krishna, the Supreme. So Ram is coming here. The governor may go to the prison house, but he doesn't become a prisoner. He's the enforcer of the law. He's not under the force of the law. Although we have a few governors, even a president, who maybe they should be in jail, but that's another question. So here we go. So those are some foundation, lest we undertake these things cheaply or like that. So here goes. And of course, this is Valmiki Ramayan, revealed to Valmiki. It's 2,000, what is the Bhagavatam is 18,000 slokas. So here this is 24,000 slokas. So obviously we have a condensed version just for the sake of this. I've got pictures, and someday we'll put that together, but we've also got, so there's the whole of Lord Ram's birth, and then there is, as a youth with Vishwamrita taken to the, from Dasara to go in the forest and kill all the asuras to protect the sages. There's that whole, up to the point of, there's Lord Ram's youth, and there's also, at the end, there's when Sita's banished, and there's that whole bittersweet Leela. So we've concentrated on the middle Leela for the sake of this presentation. Because ultimately the heart of the thing is Ram Vijay for this presentation, because the day is that Ram Vijay. But there's a beautiful picture of Valmiki. And why does a Ramayan matter to us? And the fact of the matter is, what are our goals in life? We have to know where to aim if you want to hit the target. What kind of person, what about character? What about goals? How do we deal with other people? What matters? What's truth? What kind of people are we? Where are we going in life? We're wandering down the path of life. Where are we going? And in the Ramayan, we learn what is friendship. We learn what is duty. We learn what is sacrifice. We learn what is character. They say that the president just has to be competent. It doesn't really matter what his kid. This was the argument of Bill Clinton, who was a hound dog. He was all kinds of women, and it doesn't matter. He's very smart. He's very competent. But the fact of the matter is that every president, practically speaking, is challenged by something unexpected, like our current president. Nobody expected COVID. Nobody had any idea of a world pandemic. And it showed the man's character. He was like, I'm not responsible. I don't want to get into the politics of the thing. But it showed his character, because he didn't step up to the plate and be responsible. So it matters. Character counts. That's all that really does count in the ultimate issue. So when we hear the Ramayan, here it is. The Lord Ram comes to show the example of a perfect leader and a perfect human being. This is Ladali and Mahabharat's little deities, but they're blown up nicely. That's Lord Ram. To set an example, if we don't know what the target is, if we don't know what the goal is. So he's Krishna, the Supreme, but he comes to this world to show us this is how you live. These are the qualities that a human being should have. We're not just meant to be bred like cats and dogs, and if you can stuff a little something in your face and get yourself back to Walmart and back without getting, then that's success. We were in Long Beach, and there was remember that big apartment? And just like Providence, the little pigeonholes in a skyscraper building. This wasn't even a skyscraper. And you work all your life, you get a little pigeonhole. If you're really successful, you got a 2-bedroom apartment, 2-bath. It's a little pigeonhole in a box. And that's the goal of life? So Ram, you'll see. So and seeds bore bitter fruit. It's what we do now. There's that verse, what is it? The wheel of justice turns slowly but grinds infinitely fine. You think, I got away with it. No, everything is witnessed and everything has a reaction. And what you do now, it will bear fruit later on. So this is Ravan right here, and he stole Kuvera's flower airplane. He committed so many offenses. There's a whole list. On an expanded version, sometime we'll just do Ravana. There's 9 different things that he did that caused his ultimate. But he's riding high now. There he is. He's got his little associates, and he's flying in Kuvera's flower airplane, riding high. But pride goes before a fall. And here's the mistake on Dasarath's part. Maharaj Dasarath, Lord Ram's father, he was hunting. And the Kshatriyas hunt because that's how they hone their military skill. They got to be ready. They got to be, So, and it also, ask the devotees in New Vrindavan, if they're out there in that, Prabhupada calls it the jungle, but out in the hills of West, the Appalachian hills. And if they don't cull the deer will take over the farm. They can jump over a 6-foot fence. They'll eat all your corn. So they kill the wild boars, the dangerous animals, the tigers, this and that, where they're bothering the sages. And they've got to shoot the deer because the deer will just breed like rabbits. So there it is. It's I'm trying to think of it's proper wildlife management, and it hones their skills. So he's out hunting. Dasarath's out hunting, but what he thought was a deer, it turned out to be this young son. This is a blind hermit and his wife. He's blind. She may have also been blind. I forget the details. But the son, she was also blind. Thank you. So the son was the only one maintaining them. And here's Bharat Maharaj Dasarath shot their only son. How are they going to live? How are they going to be maintained? So they actually cursed him. They said, we lost our son, your son will also suffer. You'll suffer the same. So now we're back to the beginning. King Dasarath, he performs a jagat to get sons. And I like this because this is from Akbar Maharaj. Akbar Maharaj, this is from his Ramayan, 1588. He was the Mughal emperor from 1556 to 1605. Now, why does it matter? His kingdom was Afghanistan, went all the way from Afghanistan all the way to Burma. And it went all the way from Kashmir, the Himalayas, all the way down to South India. And when, they didn't even have central heating, in those castles in Europe, and they had perfume because they thought, well, bathing makes you sick, and they smelled so bad. And it was just futile, chaos. They had free education, they had free city lighting, they had sewer system. Where was Christopher Columbus trying to go? He was trying to get to India because the wealth of India was so famous. So Akbar, at the apex of all of that, he also met Rupa Goswami, he also met Jiva Goswami. So Akbar is such a powerful king, he was reading Ramayan. This is from his personal illustrated version of Ramayan. And this is the Yaga Purush coming out with the fruit of the sacrifice. Was it pusam? What do they call that? It's milk, like sweet rice. And the wife would drink that, the 4 wives, and they would become pregnant. So this is from the beginning of the thing, the birth of Rama. So we fast-forwarded, obviously. Kaikeyi had saved Dasarath Maharaj in a battle one time. I think she drove his chariot. He was knocked unconscious, and she got him off the battlefield. So he gave her 3 benedictions. And she said, I'll stockpile them. I'll take them later. So it's a whole story. She was... you read these things, these illustrations, they're kind of like a comic strip. They've got different scenes in the same picture. So here she is, she's lamenting, she's angry, she's lying down because Ram is going to be her servant, her female servant, what is her, Manthara? She was telling him that, you're very happy, but that Ram's being coronated, but this is not happiness for you because actually it's a whole political thought, and Bharat's going to be banished and may even be killed because there's rivalry amongst kings, and really, Dasarath, you're going to if Ram becomes the king, you're going to fall behind. You're going to be in second position. Filled her with envy and anger and misconceptions, just poisoned her, and therefore she was very angry, very disturbed, and ultimately there was a plan. So she's asking, you see her 3 fingers, she's asking Dasarath Maharaj for her 3 boons. And her 3 boons were that Ram is not installed, that Bharat is made king, and that Ram is banished to the forest for 14 years. So those you can imagine, and everyone loved Ram. Ram was all attractive. So Dasarath, when he heard these boons, he completely passed out, swoons in distress. And here is Ram leaving for banishment. And once again, here you see Dasarath calling, don't go, don't go. And here you see they're leaving, and all the citizens said, if Ram's going to the forest, we're going to the forest with him. We're leaving too, you know. One of the things, well, we'll get there in a second. So here, like I said, you read these things, there are actually several scenes going on here. So here they are, this is their taking off all their royal garb, and they're putting on the simple clothes of ascetics. Here's, Lakshman, they're all changing off they're going to the forest, they're taking off all their clothing. And here they are bidding goodbye to, Bharat Maharaj and all the citizens are saying, no, you can't go any further. We have to part. You can imagine the tragic scene. And here they are, they're crossing the boat, and here they are, their first night in the forest. Here's Lakshman cooking up some simple, and here they are, first night in the forest. And the thing is, of course, there's the joke. How do you know if a politician is lying? Anyone know the answer? His lips are moving. I mean, everything they say is a lie. But here you have, they take a vow. If I say it, it means something. This is honor. And Dasarath, he made a vow. Therefore, he had to give up his dearest thing because he was a king, and if the king lies, everybody will lie. So he had to do his duty. He stood up for his duty. And Ram, all the citizens loved him. He could have immediately been king. Like, who was that? Aurangzeb, that horrible Kamsa come again, who banished his father to the was John. What is I forget the father's name? Yeah, John banished his father to the Red Fort and took over killed his brothers and took over. So Ram, the people would have immediately accepted him as king. And Dasarath, what could he do? But Ram said, no, my father is asked, I have a duty, I have a vow. So he went. So Ram's leaving. Sita, no prenuptial agreement. She could have bailed out. She's a princess. She could have, to go to the forest. But no, my husband's going, I'm going. This is my duty. The thread of duty. Now everybody how can I get what I want for myself? And if I have to poke the other guy in the eyes and trip him and, knock the nun out of the row and get in. But where's duty? Where's honor? Where's sacrifice? And therefore you have such a miserly culture where everybody's miserable and miserly and cheating each other. It's a what is it, in the kingdom of where it's an eye for an eye? The saying, it's an eye for an eye from the Bible? In the kingdom of where it's an eye for an eye, everyone winds up blind. And that's what we've got. So here it's duty, it's honor. So Dasarath, he dies in separation. Here's everyone lamenting at the depart. So the law of unintended consequences, when we try to calculate what we want for ourselves and make a big scheme, we don't know how that's going to. We are not the controllers of the material nature. We have our plan. Prabhupada used to say, I have my plan, you have your plan, Krishna has his plan. So we try to Kaikeyi had her plan, her son was going to be king, and she was going to be in a prominent position as the mother, what do they call it, the regent mother, or whatever the name of the thing is, the queen mother. It all went south. So, like Chanakya Pandit says, you should never give up the temporary for the permanent. You'll lose both. Huh? You should never give up the eternal for the temporary. Thank you. You'll lose both. So, better we do duty, better we do honor, better we stick to our service to Krishna, Sanatan Dharma, instead of all of these material calculations, because it's not going to work anyway. You can't win. So here's Bharat Maharaj, he goes back, and what do we got going on here? Here they're greeting. They go to the forest, they find Bharat Maharaj. Bharat finds Ram. And first off, here's Ram, they're living very peacefully, happily in the forest. Bharat Maharaj comes and says, your father's passed away, please come back, be the king. Here's all the mothers, they're crying. They're all crying, please come. What is it? Woman's weapon is tears. So everyone's begging Lord Ram, but Ram says, no, I made a vow, I made a promise, I cannot do it. So here they're all leaving. They're leaving, broken-hearted. They have to go back to the city. And here they're going back to the city without Ram, but they have Lord Ram's shoes. Bharat Maharaj took Ram's shoes. Why did he take Ram's shoes? Oh, here they're returning. He returns. Bharat Maharaj, here's another example. No hunger for the position. Not, hey, I've got the palace now. No political rivalry. Know how to, get to the top of the pile. So he's returning and he brought Ram's shoes back. He was guided by duty and service. These are people of caliber. This is a life worth living. Not like dogs and hogs and camels and asses and miserly. Prabhupada calls it dog and hog glorifying society? I should throw this picture in there. You got your phone with you? No, I think make me a note, because I want to put in the jackal becomes the king of the. So what? You're king of the forest, but you're just animals. So what Bharat Maharaj did, here's Lord Ram's shoes. He put Ram's shoes on the throne. And Bharat Maharaj did not live in the palace. He lived outside and worshipped Lord Ram's shoes. And he was simply, Ram's shoes are on the throne, and he sat on the side on a straw mat. And his whole point was, I'm simply a caretaker. I'm simply doing the job until Ram comes back. And he was living on barley water cooked in cow urine. That's austerity. Everybody stepped up to the plate. The point is that when you have a society, when people understand duty and honor and sacrifice and charity for others, all of a sudden, lo and behold, you have a peaceful, happy world. It's not the conditions, it's the consciousness. So here's Sita Ram in the forest. And they are remembered, again, this point. Of course, it's Krishna's Ram's Leela and all of that, but the example they set, householders, in Thailand, yes, in Thailand, you can go to the royal palace, the old royal palace. It's a beautiful compound. And you can go into the throne room, and it's all gold and gilt, and, it's beautiful, it's quite stunning, actually. And then there's the king's throne, and there's many, many steps and many, many tiers, and it's 3 gold umbrellas and the gold elephants. It's very opulent. You can imagine, all gold and jewel encrusted. And so the king sits on that, and what does he think? I am the lord of all I survey? No way. Painted in the ceiling in Sanskrit are all the qualities of a Kshatriya from Bhagavad Gita. Hey, you're sitting on this throne, you've got to be charitable. You've got to lead in battle. You've got to protect the innocent. So when he sat on that throne, okay, you're sitting on the throne, but here's what you got to live up to. Here's the standard. So similarly, what's the standard? So Sita and Ram Leela, you can get who remembers? You pass, you drop dead, and 6 months later nobody remembers you. Unless they look at a picture. What impact did you have on, who can remember? Is Trump the 41st president? 45th. So there it is right there. Any remember Rutherford Hayes? Milford Pierce? Milford Pierce was a president. But Sita and Ram, simply on it's known all over the world. The Ramayan and their qualities. That's what makes a stunning impression. So again, here they're living peacefully in the forest. You see Sita's in a nice, her hut there, and they're having nice katha, they're cooking. So you see these are the different forest activities. And they're quite happy, actually. What does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita about lust? Does he say you scratch it and it goes away? What does Krishna say about lust? What does he compare it to? Anyone know other than Dravida and Raj? And Ram? What does he compare it to? Yes, it burns like, lust burns like fire. And, what does Krishna say? and never satisfied. So simple living and high thinking. Here's Sita and Rama. And look at they're all dressed in leaves. He's got a crown of leaves. And they're hearing from the sages, getting good instruction. And therefore they're very happy. You can see another sage over here in the forest. So this was their business. So Prabhupada loved this saying, simple living. And now we have high living and simple thinking. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So they're visiting the sages. You can see the sages in their little caves, all the different sadhus in the forest. And their business, they would go and here's all the demigods all watching and appreciating. And it was a very happy life. Living in the forest, simple living, none of the burdens of the kingdom, getting nice katha, hearing different stories of great sages and saints and kings. Very blissful life. But life never stays peaceful. We have to accept that. That just, what is it, as misery comes unsought, so will happiness. It's, Krishna says, it's like the changings of the seasons. Therefore, what is the thread? Duty, sacrifice, service, sanatan dharma. What can I do for samsiddhiyari toshanam? These are the standards. Because it's going to change. So here we have Maricha, he was one of the original shapeshifter mystical wizard. He was one of the servants of Ravana, and he was, the story, he was sent to distract, he was whatever you call it, to distract Ram and Lakshman to go after, so that Ravana could get Sita. So here's a beautiful golden deer, and we saw those nice, they're actually quite beautiful, isn't it? The little baby deer, they're quite attractive. Bambi, I don't know if... So can you imagine, he was all covered with jewels. So here's when Ram realized, wait a minute, this deer is not an order, this is some trick. So once again, all that glitters is not gold. And when we see that something's illusion in our life, we need to cut it out. You need to cut it down. You can't just nurture it or tolerate it, because it will bring danger. So, and also for Maricha, he was shot and killed. This is the result of serving a bad master. I think I've got it in the next slide. Well, we'll get there in a minute. So while Ram and Lakshman, here they are, pursuing the golden deer, Ravana shows up dressed as a sannyasi, as a sadhu. And he's begging. He said, oh, dear Mataji, I'm too weak. I can't. Could you please come out of the house? You come to me and help me. So great theatrics. So once again, dress alone does not determine a sadhu. If they have a big, big beard and saffron cloth, we've had, anyway, I don't want to get in it, but it's true in every religion, just because they're dressed as a priest. Oh, we got the wrong way. So here's Ravana. He's grabbing Sita. And then here they are flying away in his instead of horses, he had donkeys were leading it. And here he is off on his chariot. And here we have the noble Jatayu. He was a vulture, actually. We'll hear about more of him in a second. But with his last ounce of strength, he's trying to save Sita, and he was killed by Ravan. So here we have, again, many, many scenes. Ram comes back and he sees the empty, where's Sita? So he's asking the deer, he's asking in the forest, where is Sita? They're all looking for Sita. And finally they find, here is the dying Jatayu. Here's Jatayu. And they find some remnants, because Jatayu managed to break part of Ravana's chariot. So they got a hint. Oh, and Jatayu with his dying breath was saying that Sita was stolen by Ravan. So they have an idea of what happened, but where did he go? What to do? So here's Ram and Lakshman. Later on, they're searching and they meet Hanuman. Hanuman disguised as a mendicant. The point is, one of the things is that in anyone is a householder, in married life, well, we'll get there in a second, there's drama. Life is full of drama. And what do you do with it? Anybody who lives long enough, many of you are young, we think, everything's, it's a smooth skate. Maybe I had a few things in the, one or two difficult things, but now it's smooth sailing. No way. Life is tough. And what's going to get you through? Like we said, across the path of life, knowledge is compared to what? Shoes, because they help you traverse the path. It's compared to a lamp, which lights the way. So here they are meeting Hanuman. And here's Sugriva. He's the king of the monkeys. He gives Lord Ram, because he'd found this cloth. Sita had taken, as she was being dragged off, she took some of her jewels, she took part of silk cloth, tied it up and threw it off the chariot to give Ram a hint that, it's Ravana, and, and here's what so here's Sugriva giving that cloth back. And you've got the monkeys and the bears, all the forest inhabitants. So again, as I was saying, Sita, when they went to the forest, Sita could have stayed in the palace. She didn't have to go with Ram, but she went with Ram because that's her duty. They used to say in marriage, for better and worse, for sickness and health, this is what marriage means, So similarly, Ram, he could have just gotten another princess. Of course, on one hand, he's the, Vishnu, he could have expanded to unlimited goddesses of fortune. But no, Sita was wife, he did his duty. So householders, everybody does their duty, not when it's smooth and easy. So, once again, here's Sugriva giving Ram the jewels, and because they're monkeys, and they're forest dwellers, but they were noble. So it doesn't matter what someone's caste, or what they look like, or what is their character. I think Martin Luther King said that he wanted to see his children not judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. That's how we judge. We've got all kinds of racism, and thisism, and thatism, and exploitation. But how you judge people is what is their character. It's not what if they're on the cover of People magazine, or they've got a red Ferrari, what does that mean? Or they climb to the top of some ladder. What does that mean? But what is their character? So even though they're forest dwellers, what was their character? So here's the monkeys. They're searching for Sita. And in the course of that, here's some, Rakshasas bothering the sages, man-eaters, and here's the monkeys. They're cleaning out the forest when they were looking for Sita. They were, multitasking. So searching everywhere for Sita. Now, what's happening here is this is Hanuman's party. Everybody else gave up and came back and said, we can't find her. But Hanuman's party, they went all the way to South India. And here they are. This is the stylistic. They've come to they can't go any further. They've come to the end of they've come to that, what is it, Kanyakumari? What is that called? Huh? No, Rameshwar's on the side. They've come all the way down to the tip, at the end there. And they've come to the ocean, they can't find Sita. And they collapse in exhaustion. Now living there was a vulture. This is a stylized vulture. And he sees these bodies lying on the ground. And he begins to say, here's a feast. So he's singing very happily. He's about to eat them. So here he is about to eat, and they're exhausted. They can't resist. And what they say here, one of them says, you're a vulture. He says, why can't you have the characters of Jatayu, who with his last breath was serving Ram, sacrificed his life for the glories of the Lord? And when they met, you're a vulture, but you're taking care of innocent, you're about to eat innocent people who are exhausted. Why don't you be like this other vulture who was noble? And as soon as he heard the word Jatayu, he stopped and sat down. What is this? Because it turns out that this, I forget his name. Oh, it says there, Sampati. He was the brother of Jatayu. And when he heard his brother's name, he thought, oh, wait. And when they began glorifying, the monkeys were explaining how noble Jatayu was, he let them go. And it turns out that in his flying, vultures can fly so high and travel so far, he had seen Sita. So he revealed to them Sita's at Lanka being kept by Ravana. That's where she's in Lanka. So this is how Hanuman found out where Sita was. Now, of course, we know the story that Hanuman's jumping to, and there was a Bengali saying, big, big monkey, big belly, Ceylon jumping, melancholy. Prabhupada quotes it. Prabhupada quoted on a morning walk And he was trying to get Mayapur developed. He was trying to get... Starting ISKCON in India, we were being cheated. We were being exploited. It was no easy task. And so you had all your big leaders, big sannyasis, but they couldn't do anything. So Prabhupada's on a morning walk, and they're all walking around. I mean, they're all great heroes, actually, but just to fire them up. So Prabhupada said, big monkey, big belly, sail on jumping, melancholy. In other words, what can you actually do? Do something. Then you're a big sannyasi. Then you're a big, big whatever. So Hanuman, he was able to jump with a single bound because he was the son of Vayu. He was Vayu reincarnated, right? How did it work? Okay. So here's Ram, and what does he trust but verify? So Sita wouldn't think it was, because she was being kept in the Ashok Grove. And they were doing all kinds of mystic yoga, showing her that Ram was dead. It was all illusory. But how would Sita know that Hanuman was not another making, some Rakshasa magic? So Ram gave her one of his jewels, one of his rings. So Hanuman had proof of identity. So that's what's happening in this scene. Now here we have, I borrowed a few other just to fill in the scene, but here we have Hanuman jumping. And what's happening here, there was a sea monster that came up, giant size, and was going to swallow Hanuman. Anyone know what Hanuman did? He was a mystic. I think the thing is he had to enter, there was some curse that he had to enter into the mouth. So how do you enter in the mouth? So he came very small, zip, went in and out. So he was able to continue. And the point is that, they think that we're just ringing bells and, and eating rice and it's but devotional service means active. People they used to say, and still they say, well, what would happen if the whole world became Krishna conscious? How would it go on? But devotees are active. You've got Arjuna was a king. Actually, Prabhupada says there's two books that the Vedic literature rests on. The exemplification, the examples of the implementation of the Vedic principles in the Vedanta Sutras and the Upanishads. How do you put those into practice? That you'll find in Mahabharata and the Ramayan. They're the exemplification, how to live the Vedic principles. And Prabhupada said, who are the heroes? Hanuman and Arjuna, devotees, and they're active. So here's Hanuman. Can anyone find Hanuman? Like, where's Waldo? This is Ravana's palace. And he was looking everywhere, and there were so many beautiful women, and he wasn't distracted by the beautiful women and all the opulence. He was at Ekehe Kurunandana. He had one boot here, I'm a little tired. To fix one's mind, one-pointed intelligence, not distracted by some. He was, where is Sita? So a devotee, similarly, there's so much illusion, there's so many allurements. But what is our job? What is our duty? How to get out of this material world and take as many people with us. So in that mood, Hanuman was just, where is Sita? And this is the business of a devotee. Well, we'll get there in a second. So you can see here's all the merchants. Here's the entrance, the gate of the city. So Hanuman's right up here. He's looking, where is Sita? So he searched all through the palace, didn't find her. He was just about to give up. And then in an Ashok Grove outside the city, here's Ravana. He's taunting her. He says, you have to surrender you submit to me, because he was cursed that he had raped a sage's daughter. This is one of the 9 things. So Ravana was cursed that if he took Sita by force, he would die. I think his head would crack in half or, some ghastly, but he would die. So he couldn't take her by force. So he said, if you don't submit to me, I think he'd given her a month, I'll cook you up. I'll kill you and eat you. That's a real seduction line, So here he is, and you'll see the scene in a minute. So they're taunting her, and she's in the Ashok Grove. And here's Hanuman up above, waiting for a moment to give the message to Sita. And again, this is the mood of how to take Krishna's things. Bhavananda was given the name Bhavananda. And it says one who enjoys the material world. So Bhavananda told me, And he says it on a tape, that I was thinking, Prabhupada really had my number, because he loves to enjoy, But Prabhupada said, what it means is the devotee takes the material nature and enjoys giving it back to Krishna. Prabhupada said to Bhavananda about Mayapur, he said, and Jayapataka Maharaj, he said, I've given you the kingdom of God, take it and enjoy. And what he meant was enjoy developing it, and look what's happened in Mayapur, They're great heroes. And so there it is. So the devotee, we see this, Krishna's things should be engaged in Krishna's service. Everything belongs to Krishna. Let me get everything. So Hanuman, his mission, get Sita back to Ram. Devotee's mission, how to get devotees on Sankirtan, how to get that, give them a book and get the Lakshmi out of their hands and back in the hands of Krishna. So this is the mood of a devotee. So here we have, these are the different Rakshasas, all tormenting and torturing Sita. And here's Sita. And Hanuman up in the tree here, Hanuman has just given her the ring, saying, no, stay fast, because she was going to give up her body. Stay fast, don't worry, Ram's coming. And she told him, I can wait 1 month. That's it. So of course Hanuman goes back. Oh, here it is. Here's another, this is a Bengali style. But here she's got the ring. Here's Hanuman. Here's all the Rakshasas. They're not going to win any beauty prize. So Hanuman, he was captured. He let himself be captured by Ravana. And evidently, Prabhupada says, and Ramayan says, that monkeys are very fond of their tail. It's like of course, they use it for so many things. It's very utilitarian. It's also evidently a vanity point. So they've wrapped Hanuman's tail in cloth and oil, and they're going to burn him, like burning at the stake. They're going to light him on fire and start with his tail. It'll be horrendous. And here's Ravana. You can just see the scene here. And they brought him bound up, and they're going to burn him up. So the whole time Hanuman was in Lanka and delivering the message to Sita, what he really wanted to do was smash Ravana. How dare, he's touched Sita and caused Ram this. He just wanted to, but he had to do his mission. So we have to, similarly, devotees as yogis, we have to do our mission. What is Krishna's service first? But Krishna likes to fulfill the desires of his devotees. If that desire won't cause us to fall down, Krishna likes to fulfill the desire of the devotees. So what was Hanuman's desire in Lanka? What did he want to do? He wanted to smash. And also, one of the reasons he was captured, Prabhupada, you'll see, they took him all through the city with his tail on fire. So they showed this. If you challenge Ravana, this is what will happen. But it's described in the Ramayan that actually it gave Hanuman a chance to check out how the whole of the city was laid out, where the protections were, where the battlements. So he scoped out the whole scene at normal size. And then, when he'd seen the whole city, what did he do? Expanded to super huge size, and with his tail on fire, lit all of Lanka. So the whole city is ablaze. And you've got giant Hanuman, all of a sudden he's huge, and he shouts, "Victory to Ram!" And off he jumps while the city's in blaze. Just imagine. If that doesn't strike fear, and so there it is. So here, just before the battle starts, here's all the Rakshasa army gathered together. And this is Ravana's grandfather-in-law. And he's begging him, do not fight. You're not going to win. What you did was you've stolen another man's wife. By Dharma, this will not end well. Don't fight. But, once again, blinded by lust and pride, you can't take good advice. And we find so many people, we're all like that, because of arrogance. The first in Bhagavad Gita, we were talking about it last night in Long Beach, the first qualification to gain knowledge, sign of knowledge, given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Anyone know what the first qualification is to get all the other qualifications? Humility. And you just can't, nobody, in Kali Yuga, nobody can hear. Who are you to tell me when you're there? You ask the man on the street. I love it. You know, what do you think about the economy? They're asking the guy coming out of the tire shop, what do you think about economy? What does he know about it, you know? He can't even pay his rent. Well, but does that stop them from offering an opinion? Well, what do you think about global warming? Well, I think... Nobody knows what they're doing. So here they are building the bridge. Although Hanuman could jump, the Lord wanted to build the bridge. So he was building a bridge to Lanka by floating stones. What? And here, they wrote Lord Ram's name on all the different stones, and they were floating. Well, you expect me to believe that? Again, Prabhupada said the mystic power of God is all around us, if we have the eyes to see. People say, show me God. Prabhupada said, that's not the question. The question is, why can't you see God? Glenn, I need that clock, if you don't mind. The question is, why can't you see God? That's the question to ask. So, we've got planets. Thanks a lot, Prabhu. They're floating. We're going to go a little over, don't we? Nobody wonders about that? To float a little bit of a stone, what is that? When there's all the planets are floating. So seamless logic if you have the eyes to see. So in the course of this, Hanuman is throwing huge boulders, and and all the monkeys are working. And there was a little squirrel, and the little squirrel, he also wants to serve. So what can he do? He was kicking a few grains of sand trying to help Lord Ram build his bridge. And Hanuman very respectfully said, my dear squirrel, men are working here, Can you just move over a little bit, And Lord Ram said, no. He according to his ability, he's serving with full heart. So, Bhavagrihi Janardanam, Krishna knows what's in our heart. And of course, whatever we've got, whatever our skill set, we're trying to do to our best to Krishna, that's what Krishna relishes. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. And it's said, if you look at squirrels, they have those stripes on their back. It's because Lord Ram stroked it, gave him a blessing, and so he has those stripes. So, Krishna's unconquerable. Lord Ram, the infinite, how does the finite conquer the infinite? Krishna is achyuta, he's achinta, he's inconceivable, he's infallible. But by bhakti, the finite can conquer the infinite. So here, that's an example. And here's Ravana's, I just got a kick out of this. Here's Ravana's army on the march. Pretty fearsome group here, And they've got they're accompanied by these are wolves and jackals vomiting fire. It's a little different than drones. You're in a bunker somewhere and you send the thing 3,000 miles away to blow up a village full of innocent women and children to get one guy. So here is Lord Ram. They're crossing on the bridge with all the monkey soldiers. They're crossing. And here's the Rakshasas see him coming. Some of the monkeys were so enthusiastic, they're swimming. They didn't want to wait. And this is Vibhishana. Vibhishana was the pious brother of Rav. He tried to tell Ravana the same thing like the grandfather-in-law. Don't do this. It's inauspicious. You will suffer the result. You do act A, and then later on, down the line, you get kicked by act Z. But it works. The wheel of justice turns slowly but grinds infinitely fine. Karmic and destiny, everybody gets what they deserve. You can't escape. But he didn't listen. So here's Vibhishana. He's trying to, Prabhupada said, if you stay in bad association, I heard Prabhupada say this. I don't know the Bengali. But if you pet a skunk, your hand will smell. If we keep bad association, materialistic association, even we associate with devotees, they're always talking Prajalpa and this and Jayananda, his qualification, one of his multiple qualifications, if someone was talking Prajalpa or somebody was criticizing another devotee, he'd be gone. You look around, where'd Jayananda go? So if we keep bad association, it is contaminating. You pet a skunk, your hand will smell. And that means, newspapers and movies and, we had one devotee here, went to Smashing Pumpkins. Was that what it was? Smash your consciousness. So there it is. Vibhishana is an example for us. So here's the Lord Ram instructing, here's Lanka. They're about to storm the golden city. And here's Ram and Lakshman. They're instructing all their soldiers. What is their strategy? How are they going to fight? And you see, what are they? They've got sticks, and they've got rocks. It appears that the bears preferred trees and the monkeys preferred rocks, but all they had was their simple weapons. And we'll see Indrajit with the great mystic power. But the point is, even though they're armed with simple things, because of the mercy of the Lord, they were successful. Like you have Arjuna and the Pandavas surrounded by the Kauravas. How could they possibly win? But by the mercy of Krishna. There is that, Our Father art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's the Mahavakya for Christianity. And it's God's will. Whatever they will, that's what's going to happen. So, this is Kumbakarna. This is the brother of Ravana. He was actually pious in his own way, you know. But there was a mantra that was chanted when he was born, and it was that he would take Indra's seat. But what happened was the goddess of Saraswati bewildered the Brahmins performing it, and they made one syllable long, and it became that he will want a bed for sleeping. So this is Kumbakarna. He would sleep for 6 months at a time. So when Ram was coming and Ravana was losing, Kumbakarna was in his sleep. So they're trying to wake up Kumbakarna, and when he awakes, he has a voracious appetite. They have to be careful whoever wakes him up, because he'll eat them. So very difficult to wake up Kumbakarna. But they had a plan. We'll wake up Kumbakarna and we'll be victorious. Here's Kumbakarna. They're trying to wake him up. It says it took 1,000 elephants pounding on him to wake him up. And Kumbakarna is Vijay, of Jai and Vijay. So he's one of the gatekeepers. So he is the Vijay of Jai and Vijay. You know, he's 3 births as a demon. So here's Kumbakarna. And they're trying to wake him up so he can go to fight Ram. This is Kumbakarna. Here he is. He was not easy to kill. They had to cut off his legs, cut off his arms. So here he was finally killed by Ram and delivered. So this is, again, throwing the rocks and stones, and they're fighting all the sophisticated mantras and weapons. Lord Brahma's worried who's going to win, what to do. But devotional service doesn't depend on any material conditions. We can serve the Lord in any capacity. It doesn't matter. And Ram's not impressed by You appear to be caught in the ropes of the snake weapon. But this is Krishna. He likes to bring out the emotion of the devotees to feel. So we have the example of Krishna when he was tied up by the Kaliya serpent. That they all the inhabitants of Braj are swooning on who will save Krishna? Bringing out that fever pitch of anxiety for Krishna. And we have the example of Lord Varaha with Hiranyaksha. I think he actually dropped his club at one point in time, and kill him, don't play, you know. And you have Nrsinga with Hiranyakasipu, like you play with let him go sometimes and bring him back. And so this is the Lord's Leela. He likes to bring out the love of the devotees. So when we're in difficulty, it doesn't mean that Krishna has abandoned us. He's trying to bring out something. He's trying to help us grow and learn. It's not that, where'd Krishna go? And, God's left me. It doesn't mean that at all. There's a purpose. So Utsaha, of course, Hanuman is the example. There was one of Indrajit's mystic potencies. He apparently knocked Lakshman unconscious. And the only thing that would bring Lakshman back to life, Lakshman's dropped unconscious. The only thing that will bring him back to life is a herb, special Ayurvedic herb that grows in the Himalayas. So Hanuman was so enthusiastic, he took off. Then he landed and realized, oh, wait a minute. I didn't get a clear description of what it was. He knew the place. So what did he do? He picked up the whole mountain, and here he is flying with the whole mountain and bringing it back and delivering it so they can select whatever the right herb was. But he wanted to make sure he brought the whole pharmaceutical shop with him of herbs, So this utsaha, enthusiasm, let me serve Krishna. Yeyatam mam prapadyante, as they surrender, I reciprocate. So if we're lukewarm to Krishna, Krishna's never lukewarm. He loves every living entity. But the point is, the more we approach him in enthusiasm, Krishna reveals himself. So here's Hanuman. He's bringing back the herb. And here they're reviving Lakshman. Here you see Lakshman and Lord Ram's holding him up. And here's Hanuman. They've delivered. He's being revived. So the Lord likes to see his devotees succeed. Sometimes, just like, so many examples you can think about. But he likes to see his devotees apparently excelling. So here we come to Ram Vijay. It's the final face-off. We all have to answer for our deeds sooner or later. And here's Ravana with his heads, 10 heads, and I think we know which way this ends. So here's Lord Ram cutting off Ravana's 10 heads. Here's the 10 heads, and he's cutting off his heads. But there was a problem. Anyone know what the problem was? They popped right back. And what is the analogy? Anyone know the analogy? Those heads represent lust, greed, anger, envy, madness, the 10 illusions. And you can cut off but if you don't go to the root, where's the root? Here we see Ravan could only be killed if he was hit in the heart. If you want to get rid of the little Ravana living in our mind, you've got to cleanse the heart. Of course, we know by the holy name and devotional service. But that's the only way you could kill Ravana. So I love this verse. It's from the 2nd canto, 7th chapter, text 25. Ravana's laughter, overtaken by joy, along with his very air of life, suddenly ceased with the tingling sound of the bow of Ramchandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we may think in our life, what am I going to do? I've got lust, I've got greed, I've got anger, and they can seem insurmountable. I mean, if we're honest, we've all had those moments. Krishna, I've been struggling with this for so long. How will it happen? But we can know for certain, if we stay the course with enthusiasm, patience, and determination, by them, who can conquer Lord Ram? So Ram can conquer Ravana. We may not be able to do it. But by the mercy of the Lord, he will deliver us. We have to have, because it's true, firm faith in that. So we're coming to the end. So Ram, to wrap up everything nicely, he took Vibhishana. Ravan is dead. So what to do? So they installed Vibhishana as the king. And once again, it's guna and karma. Even though he was born in an Asuric family, but Vibhishana showed his character. So people are known by their qualities and their activities. They're not by their birth. Who cares where you're born? But what do you do with it? Oh, I'm born Brahmin. People say, oh, I'm Brajbasi, and you're smoking bidi? Oh, what does that mean? What it really means is you had a good birth and you spoiled it. Instead of being proud, it shows you're a bigger fool because you had a chance and you lost it. So Vibhishana, even though born in an Asuric family, because he was pious, because he was a devotee, because he was honest, because he was humble, he became the king. We have a few more slides and we're done. So here's Sita and Ram returning to Ayodhya on their flower airplane. And the point is the Lord works in his own way, in his own time. I mean, we're just skimming on the surface. There is so much drama and suspense. They're up, they're down. Like the basic storyline of every Hollywood movie, there's a hero or heroine, they're doing well, they lose, then they recover, they get it back. I mean, and everyone loves that, a redemption story. So here we go, if you read the Ramayan, up, up, down, left, right, who did this, and everybody, oh, this person did this in a previous life, and now they're getting it, and it's just amazing, the churning of the material nature and how the cosmos works. So the Lord works in His own way and His own time. I'm going to say it, even though we're a little late. Bhavananda told me that the GBC had made, and this is not glorification of the GBC, everything we do is right. We make mistakes, no question about it. Error is human. I heard Prabhupada say the other side of that. You know the saying, to err is human? I've heard it so many times. I heard someone said to err is human, and Prabhupada gave the other half. Anyone know the other half? To forgive is divine. Okay, fine, everybody makes a mistake, but the sign of saintly character is that you can forgive. To err is human, to forgive is divine. So, Bhavananda told me that the GBC had made, he was a member of the GBC, and the GBC at the time, the GBC had made some decision he didn't like. And he went into Prabhupada's room, and he complained. It was in Mayapur. And Prabhupada said, whatever decision you've made collectively, he said, that's why I formed this GBC. Any one of you, like sticks, you can break an individual stick, you bundle them, you can't break it. He said, you all bring something to the mix, so whatever you've decided collectively, you have to follow. And Bhavananda was not very satisfied with that. But Prabhupada, sometimes Prabhupada, he wanted to end the conversation. Prabhupada said, what was I going to say? I know the end of the story. He said, and if there's a problem, Krishna will fix it. All right, if you think there's whatever you've decided, you have to follow. And if there's some error, Krishna will fix it. And Prabhupada said it in such a way, Bhavananda said, that was the end of it. That was it. Take it, So Bhavananda was offering his obeisances, although he wasn't satisfied in his mind at all. Okay, And he was thinking, how long is that going to take for Krishna to fix it? And Bhavananda said, as he was coming up from offering his obeisance, Prabhupada slammed his hand on the desk and said, and not in your time, in his time. So Krishna works in his own way for his own purposes. When Krishna was at Ranchor and leaving the battlefield, he didn't want to touch Mushukunda, but he wanted to get him killed. He wanted to live Rukmini. He wanted to shame Jarasandha. So many things he wanted to accomplish. So we don't know what the plan of Krishna is. We're thinking we have our one little narrow spectrum. I want this, and Krishna should do this. But Krishna's dealing with all kinds of different factors, including our betterment. So we should just do our duty and have faith in Krishna. That He knows what. Do I know what I'm doing? If I'm so smart, what am I doing in this material body in the bottom of the barrel? Kali Yuga, everybody else with a brain got out. I'm so smart, and here I am. I got a plan. Krishna, I think you really should do it this way. So the Lord works in His own way in His own time. And another one of the meanings of Diwali, it's just become like Christmas and Jesus, it's lost all of its content. But one of the reasons for lighting the lamps, it's actually when Ram was coming back to greet him, the whole city of Ayodhya was decorated with lamps to light his way. So Diwali, actually, one of the meanings of Diwali is to bring Ram back into our heart. That yes, now I'm going to be your servant. I think we have 2 more slides. So here's Bharat Maharaj. Here he is returning Ram's shoes, because Ram's come back. So here's Ram. He's offering his obeisances to his mother and to all the different queens. Kaikeyi is weeping, and she's apologizing for all the offenses and all that she's caused because of her material scheming. Here's Ram forgiving her, and he's touching the feet of his mother. And here's Bharat standing by the side, and they've given him back his shoes. And here's, you got a few of the generals, the monkeys, and that. So we're not over yet. There's only 3 more slides. But Sita, there was some rumor how the king is noble, that he heard that some of his citizens, there was some, because Ram would sometimes travel in the city incognito, in disguise. Akbar used to do this. Akbar came in disguise to meet Rupa Goswami. So it's one of the arts that Krishna and Balaram learned at the Sandipani Muni's ashram when they went to Gurukulas. How did the art of disguise? So, and Ram heard, checking out whether what are they actually seeing? What are they actually feeling? Instead of, there was George Bush. They were showing him a grocery store, and he didn't even know the price of milk. Now you can understand he's a rich man and he's the president, this and that. He didn't even know how can you know how the people are feeling? You don't even know the price of milk. You haven't been in a grocery store in 20 years. But Ram was not that kind of leader. You have Ram, he's out there. How are the people, how are they feeling? What are they doing? How are they acting? People may act nicely when I'm a sannyasi. Everybody shapes up when I visit the temple. As soon as I'm gone, everybody goes to sleep for Mangalarti, you know. So what's actually going on? So Ram heard that there was some criticism. Oh, Sita, Ram is henpecked. Ram took back his wife and she was living with Ravana. Who knows what happened? So what to do? So to prove her chastity, and this is the toxic effect of gossip. We gossip about other devotees, prajalpa. Sita, to prove her chastity because of she had to go into the fire. So, we should be careful. Criticizing other devotees, gossip, it has a toxic effect. So, here is Sita going into the fire. But, I think we'll come back to this in a second. Here, once again, here's the whole scene. Here's Sita going into the fire. And here's Agni Dev bringing her out of the fire and presenting her again to Ram. And here's all the witnesses, the devas, everyone to walk. Because what happened is, how can a materialist, a sinful, a personified Ravana, how can he touch the goddess of fortune? So what happened, it was a Maya Sita, it was a false Sita that he actually captured. And here at the end of the Leela, when Sita's back with Ram, the false Sita went back into the fire, and Agni Dev, who was keeping the real Sita safe, he's bringing back the real Sita. So the materialists, everyone's trying to enjoy the material nature. You can't enjoy the material nature. You're trying to enjoy the false Sita. But when Sita's by the side of Ram, goddess of fortune is next to Narayan. And when Krishna's things are used in Krishna's service, then everyone becomes happy. And we're coming up to the end here. Here's the coronation here's Sita and Ram and the coronation. You have all the devas. If you can look at this, you've got Shiva, you've got all the different yogis and rishis, and they're all worshiping Krishna, because Krishna, Rama, they're the supreme, cause of all causes. No one is greater than or equal to. So as I was saying, one thing to think about the Ramayan is how it's a saga. Doesn't Ramayan mean journey? It's Lord Ram's journey. So all the things that he went through, and Sita and Bharat, you may be pious. Why do good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people? How can there be God? That's not what it's all about. Each of us has our path. Each one has our anartas that need to be cleansed. Each one has our lessons we need to be learned. And frankly, pain is one of the best I can say for my own life. Krishna, please take it easy after I say this. I have learned the most in my life in difficulty. And you ask any of the senior devotees, we've all had, marriages blow up, heart collapse, health goes out the window, people we trusted fizzle out, and we've all had things happen in our life. And we've had to put ourselves back together and go on. And that has made us the better for it. So if you look at the Ramayan, and this, of course it's Lord Rama and it's his Leela, but he's coming to show us that just do our duty, do the right thing, be honorable, hold fast to Krishna's lotus feet, and everything turns out, what is it? All's well that ends well, I think Shakespeare says. So if you hold fast, it's all going to work out. Ante Narayana Smriti, at the time of death, you remember Krishna and go back to Godhead. Well, I'd call that a pretty good ending. So if we protect Dharma, Dharma will protect us. Everyone's trying to, protect. I want to maintain my money. I want to maintain my position. I want to maintain my health. I want to maintain my happiness. We're all pushing back. But if we just protect Dharma, Dharma will protect us. Hanuman was unsophisticated, yet he was successful. Ravana was cultured, powerful, yet he was defeated. Purity and Lord Krishna's mercy are the key. Well, if you were to bet on it, you would have bet on Ravana, not the monkey soldiers. So here it ends, the Lord's eternally blissful Leela. Here's Sita and Ram in Ayodhya. So Sita Ram, Lakshmi Narayan, Radha Krishna, This is what we're meant to be. Here they are enjoying their eternal blissful Leela, and we're meant to be with them. That's the real goal of life. So we can in there. These are the marks on Lord Ram's lotus feet. Someday we'll describe those, but we can in there. Thank you for sitting so patiently, and all glories to Ram Vijay and Ramayan. Hare Krishna. All glories to Bhakti Ed, who scanned all these in.